Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Goddamn Gamecube. Greg and Riley are your hosts today, and I just want to say today is a day of vindication. Today is a day of validation. It's going to be one of my favorite days of the year because we are talking about one of my least favorite games of the past 10 years. Today we're talking about Control, which is a third-person shooter action-adventure game developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by 505 Games in 2019. This is part of a mini-series we are doing on the Remedyverse by Sam Lake, and I just laugh whenever I read that.
Yeah.
But because I feel like you got to keep me on the rails here because I'm really chomping at the bit to really put my teeth into this thing.
Yeah.
So, Riley, let's go.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Remedyverse. I think my preamble here is that this game, Control, is interesting on paper, but it lost me almost immediately. So that's where I'm at. It feels like a mixture of Max Payne, The Matrix, Lost, Half-Life, and Twin Peaks all at once, I think. But if I could put my feelings as succinctly as possible, it feels like, when you grab like every color crayon and you use them all at once and it just turns into brown and gray.
Yes.
That's what this experience felt like to me.
Okay. So I'll have our audience know I played this game when it came out, and I'm trying not to use the word hate anymore on the show. I very much disliked this game when it came out.
Yeah.
And for the sake of the show, I just unfortunately played it again. So
I just played it for the first time.
Okay. So the basic premise here is that your character, Jesse Faden, is visiting a mysterious government building called the Oldest House, looking for her brother Dylan, who went missing when they were kids or a long time ago. The Oldest House is home to a U.S. government organization called the Federal Bureau of Control. After discovering the body of the former director in his office, Jesse is chosen as his successor and tasked with preventing the invasion of an extra-dimensional threat called the Hiss. Now, Riley, I want you to go next, but I immediately am checked out of this plot 5 seconds in.
Yeah.
I just feel like right when that happened, when I am now the director, I kind of put down the control and I said, what is happening? Like, why is this? I don't understand this.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
We'll get into all the nitty gritty of the plot and whatnot. And so something I'd like to note right off the bat, it's something that was very apparent to me, but then when I looked it up afterwards, I confirmed this was intentional, is that this game's lore and a lot of what you experience in it is very heavily inspired by this thing called SCPs, which stands for Special Containment Procedures. And it's basically like a fun thing online where people write little creative, often spooky stories about objects and weird photos. So it's we'll discuss further. The issue that I have with this game is that these SCP stories that people write online, they're often very unique, memorable, entertaining. By contrast, one of the earliest examples of like the haunted object that you run into in this game is this little merry-go-round horse. It gives you one of your first abilities. And so you need to chase it down and cleanse it of evil, pretty much.
Yeah.
And you get like a little dossier file afterwards. And it says that it was in an abandoned amusement park and moving around on its own, and it somehow killed 3 people. And that's all you get.
Okay.
And it's just like, dude, that's all you got?
And also you have to read it because it's in a text file.
Yes. And but that's like all of them. It's just very, very feels like, I don't want to say half-assed, but like, dude, come on.
It feels like phoned in, right?
Like just very perfunctory. Like,
Yep.
Oh, it's a little. I think the whole vibe of this game is like, ooh, spooky, intriguing, don't you think? And I'm like, I'm not. No.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I think one of my main complaints about this game in 2019, when everyone said I was wrong about this game, was I think this game is trying to be a little bit scary and a little bit weirdo at the same time.
Yeah.
But so much of the user experience to me is so heinous that it's not spooky at all and it just feels wrong.
Well, I think another revelation that I had on the way over here was that it kind of reminds me of when Resident Evil leans a little too much into the shooty blasty action stuff. Like you're kind of straying too far from the
Yes.
atmosphere here, you know?
So let's get into gameplay and performance.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right. So how did the game perform and play for you?
For me, pretty much fine. Apparently, console versions had performance issues at launch.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, it worked fine for you.
Yep.
I think that moving around feels kind of stiff. Do you agree with this?
I wonder if anyone in our audience agrees with this, where when I first get control of a character in any
So to
game, when I first gain control of any character in a game and I move the control stick and moving feels weird, you know you're in for it.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't feel right.
Well, I think you know what it felt like to me was Max Payne.
Yeah.
It's just like that game was like 20 years old when this one came out. So I can't believe it's like still, there's got to be some kind of, even if it's a different engine, like the similar framework that they're using for these types of animations. I also hate the way that levitation controls.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why it's not just hold A to rise and release it to fall, you know?
Because
Like,
I felt like I was kind of mashing A, but I'm like, oh, wait, that makes you fall.
yeah, exactly. And I also don't understand why it uses a separate invisible meter from your other abilities.
Probably because it's too mandatory to complete the story, right? Maybe.
Yeah, but you still run out.
I know.
So it's bizarre. I think it's a shame because it makes sense to include it in this game. There are flying enemies. There's you know, the verticality can help you in some encounters. A lot of games struggle with like implementing flight mechanics if it's not like a flying game. I'm thinking about like Halo Reach, Halo 4,
Jetpack.
when you have the jetpack. It just never felt quite right to me. In this game, it feels like they could have implemented it perfectly, but it's just a totally.
And
like
also,
a missed
you
layup.
don't even get it until the last like 15% of the game. So
It's towards the end, right?
It's towards the end.
I see it. I couldn't tell what was mandatory and what was not.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell at what point I received that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the combat is perfectly like serviceable, but it just feels like they're leaning on the foundation they built up with Max Payne. Like the shooting is like very clearly, yep, you got that down. Like all that stuff is rock solid. But what frustrated me about this specific game, it wound up really bothering me that you can only use 2 of your weapons. All of your weapons have infinite ammo, but overheat very quickly, and they seem to share the same battery.
Yes.
So what I mean is, like, if your shotgun overheats, you can't just switch to your pistol. You have to wait for the weapon to cool down either way.
Correct.
I hated that.
I think I brought this up to you in our group chat yesterday, where I think I would have enjoyed the combat more if I could cycle between more than 2 things. Because I feel like you find the 2 things that are you're making it work, and then you just don't use anything else. Well, also, like, yeah, sure, there are more than 2 weapons.
Yeah.
But at least on the console version, you can only cycle between 2 at a time.
Same for PC.
Yeah. And so, and on your point about infinite ammo, I kind of like the recharge ammo system, because running around to collect ammo would make this game even more annoying than it is.
Sure.
But what there's something odd about the recharge system where you can get little upgrades to make the reload system faster, but if your gun is one item and it just changes forms, why is faster reload speed attached to a separate form? It doesn't make sense. Example, let's say you're using the handgun and you have to recharge. If you press X and switch to your shotgun and you have a reload bonus on, it'll just go faster. It's kind of odd. It feels weird to me that it doesn't just affect the weapon as a whole.
Yeah,
it depends what form you have.
Exactly.
It's a little odd.
We'll get deeper into that, but I don't think all that stuff was fully thought out in terms of like how it's actually supposed to work.
What did you think of like launch and like throwing things at people? People on, I guess, users on the internet love this. It was fine.
I just think like I did this in Jedi Outcast in 2002. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like just tossing stuff around. I think in general, like just the whole thing just did not, it felt very bland and kind of played out.
Yes.
And like a lot of the abilities were kind of reminiscent of the ones in Quantum Break.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
The shield
Yes.
and all that stuff. And something else that I wanted before we get off general gameplay that bothered me.
Sure.
So much important lore is communicated to you in those like hotline videos.
Yes.
And you have to like stop what you're doing and watch a 2 to 3 minute video.
And there aren't just 10 or 20 or 40 lore items. There's more than 150.
There's a lot of those little pages
Yes.
lying around. There's some cassette tapes
Yes.
that you can't. It's not like Metal Gear Solid 5. You can't just walk around and listen to them. You have to stop your game and listen to them.
And I collected at least 120 because I got an achievement for it. Like, there's so much.
I got a fair amount of achievements, but that really bugged me.
I mean, I know we're going to get into mechanics in a second.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how there's like no enemy variety either? Like,
it's not much.
where like you essentially just fight little ghost soldier dudes, and some of them are in the air and some of them run at you and some of them throw things at you.
There's like soldiers, there's kind of heavy duty ones that show up later
with grenades.
Yeah. There's the annoying ones that fly around and blow up in your face.
Yes.
And then there's like a tougher, they look like angels or something.
Yes.
You know, like they're made out of rock.
Yes. Yeah.
That's about it, unless I'm forgetting
There's one
two.
that spews a heavy damage attack unless you shield. Remember, you only fight like 2 or 3 of them in the whole game. They come out of the ground.
Yes.
Or like they kind of float around, but you can't see them until they pop out.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a couple just kind of mini bosses, which are just like, normal soldiers or enemies ranked.
There are a couple of boss encounters too that are optional.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into mechanics more?
Yeah. Let's
talk. I want to talk about more specifically about weapons and mods and that kind of shit. You can go first.
Yeah. I mainly use the spin, which is kind of the machine gun.
Yeah.
With accuracy and rate of fire mods, and the shatter, which is the shotgun with some grouping and damage mods. For personal stuff, I just maxed out my health. I didn't really I felt like that was a better use.
I mean, maybe this is lame. I literally used handgun shotgun the whole game.
The first 2 you got,
I didn't even bother, because if you could cycle between 3, perhaps I'd use more.
Yeah.
But I didn't bother. In terms of mods, I went damage, headshots, and for personal mods, it was just health and energy. That was it.
Yeah. I really disliked how the service weapon looked and worked.
Really?
I thought it was. I think a lot of the art direction in this game just reminded me of Halo Infinite with those like hexagon towers. It's just like it's made out of some kind of stainless metal material.
Yes.
And it's like the service weapon is kind of coming apart and rearranging itself like that.
Sure.
And it's just like it just didn't feel like tactile to me, like a believable, feelable weapon.
I just feel like for a game that's really trying to harp on how interesting and cool and creepy it is, it's very bland.
Yeah. Yeah, and I brought this up to you in the chat, but like how nonsensical the upgrade materials are.
Like remote thoughts, hidden trends,
ritual impulses. It's like, what are these and why are they making my weapons
Because they're just trying to be weird. Like,
yeah.
And also it doesn't matter because when you pick these up, they're just blue blobs.
Well, yeah. And how are you modding yourself is the question.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
I don't really know. I like that major abilities are acquired off the main path that you can, like that stupid merry-go-round one that gives you the dash, I believe. But the obstacle courses they make you complete are like extremely gamey and boring to me.
They're almost like little Assassin's Creed memory tutorials.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking about like if this was a more lived in or interesting experience, I was thinking about you could have integrated them in a more organic way, like BioShock with the golf balls or the tennis balls.
Yep.
Like that teaches you how to use telekinesis.
Yes.
Just something that is like a little bit more in-world, in-universe kind of thing. I think also on that note, the objects that you throw around are just like not that interesting compared to like Dead Rising.
You're just throwing around like filing cabinets and chairs and
because I was thinking about what a big part of Dead Rising that is with all the different little things you can like. It's just ordinary things that you can have fun with. And these you are throwing around ordinary stuff, but it all just looks like little blocks. I felt like most of the time she was just pulling rocks out of the walls and the floor.
Yeah, like when there's nothing to grab, you just take tiles out of the floor.
Exactly. Exactly. When it comes to the actual upgrade point system, I like it on paper. I usually like that a lot in games. There's some neat sub abilities you can acquire, like picking up enemies and throwing them. But I feel like most of the options are just not very exciting. Like it's just making your existing abilities work better.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about like the P organ from Lies of P, and it's just like all those little tiny adjustments you could make to the mechanics. I think maybe it's just because the game is not that deep. It's like there's not a lot you can do with it.
No, I just feel like the most useful upgrades are make your launch damage max out your HP, your energy, and just whatever. I got a handful of other stuff, like being able to throw grenades back.
Yeah.
But like
the enemy hacking is useful, but
I didn't put any points into it.
Yeah.
You can keep going.
No, I want to bring up one of the strangest things was, for me at least, was the inclusion of a key card system, because the entire game is set in this building. And it's kind of like Metal Gear Solid with Shadow Moses or a Big Shell, where you have to get progressively higher level
of clearance
security cards as the game progresses. What doesn't make sense to me is that you are made the director of the FBC at the beginning of the game, so why wouldn't you have top level clearance?
Because they didn't think it through.
Dude, I was going back in my fourth, trying to play devil's advocate, and it's not like the rest of the staff you meet is suspicious of you or overly secretive. Like, you should have had to maybe gradually win them over, like rise through the ranks like in Oblivion, or they should have found a different way to gate this off. Well, I don't understand that.
Well, I also feel like we're stretching into the story here a little, but you being made the director at the beginning of the game makes a lot of things not make any sense. Number one, everyone is very okay with you immediately being the director, and they're cheery and love it. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then number two, the clearance thing that you're talking about. I'll say this. I can't believe I'm saying this. I actually like the idea of how they tried to structure the game, where I thought of it almost like a Prey 2017 or BioShock, where you're in one place. BioShock's a city. Prey is kind of like this. But you have to go to different parts of the building with different levels of clearance. Yeah. But it doesn't make sense.
You can go back to old areas.
Sure. When you go back to old areas with a higher level of clearance and find more things. Yeah. But it just, the progression doesn't feel right. And, we'll get into the story about how nothing is sensical at all.
It's also like, I don't like that as much as, say, in Metroid or something, where you find something and you get a freeze weapon layer and you freeze it, and
they literally do that like once in this game. Like when you get levitate, you can do stuff. They do it like one time.
You fight the Pac-Man
I think they
boss.
If I were to give this game like any credit at all, I think the idea of the structure is fine. I just don't like how the game plays out. Right. I think they tried.
It's a good idea on paper, as I said.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to ask you, what is the point of the safe rooms?
Nothing.
Because I was like, you open up the safe room. There's like these big vault doors that open up, and there's usually like one little weapon mod in there.
A little treasure chest.
Right. And you go in there, and it's just, number one, those did not feel that valuable to me. Yep. And number two, I feel like these should have been combined with the control points, like the checkpoints. They're basically like the bonfires of this game, and which are in and of themselves incredibly bland. You could have had an opportunity here, like, oh, this is a safe room. This will kind of be where you teleport or whatever,
Sure. I almost feel like the safe rooms are sort of a prefab thing in universe. They're like for the staff. Yeah. And they're meant to be little treasure troves for you. Do you know what I think they should have done? I mean, I don't want to make suggestions, but I feel like perhaps those save rooms should have been left as treasure troves, and you need keys to get into them. Yeah, maybe they're storehouses, kind of like Dead Space with the nodes or whatever.
You can just open them as it is, though.
I don't know. I just think it's just not well conceived.
It just felt very, very tacked on.
Correct.
That system. But
you want to talk about? You want to go into the nitty gritty of visuals, art, that kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a lot of problems with this. Keep going.
Okay, so number one, I wanted to say, worth noting that this is one of the first games to support graphics cards with real-time ray tracing. Yep. For all the complaints I will have, the lighting did look pretty cool. I think the UI is very boring. And it makes upgrading an even more laborious and tedious process. Yep. It's very bland. There's just not a lot of personality to anything. I think it was a huge mistake putting level markers over enemies' heads.
Dude, can I please talk about this? Can I interrupt you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dude, I don't know about you, but this is definitely a Greg complaint, where this killed the I'm gonna use the word vibe. Like it kills the atmosphere for me, because this game at its best, it's a little bit scary, right? And it's a little bit like Matrix horror movie. But then when the scary soldiers show up and there's a number 3 over their heads and they're level 3, I'm completely taken out of this. Like it's a video game. Thanks for reminding me. It's not scary anymore. It feels, I hate to use arcadey as a pejorative term, but that's what it feels like. Yeah. And I don't like it.
Well, but I think there's a place for arcadey, but
it's not this.
It's not this. Like you're trying to build this moody, kind of trippy David Lynch, Franz Kafka atmosphere, and you're going to have it play like Destiny or Borderlands.
Yeah, actually, allow me to say a little bit more. I think one of the things that I find to be the most heinous about this game is how much like borderline loot boxing there is, or how much radio questing there is. Very 2010s gaming tropes that gamers do not like. There's a lot of that in here.
But they loved this, apparently.
Dude, I think, if you ask me, I just think Remedy tried to have it both ways. Where we're going to make a creepy, weird Matrix horror game, but we're also going to have loot boxes, and we're gonna have leveling, and it's gonna be radio questing, and it's gonna be like Destiny.
Using too many crayons.
I know. It's good comparison.
But I think it was. I was trying to figure out why, like Dark Souls, you attack an enemy and you see like the number come up of how much damage you did. Like, why does that not bother me the way this does?
Sure.
And I think it's just because that only happens when you attack them. And it's helpful.
Yep.
And this is really just like the number is just always there.
Yes.
And it's really like, I don't know. I sort of know that means like it's kind of indicating their difficulty.
I'm so scared of this level 4 boss.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I found it that it distanced me from
the experience.
What was happening.
Yeah, me too.
I think the hiss are also not interesting or intimidating.
Can I counter this point?
Why?
I think the hiss are more interesting when you're not in combat. The people just floating in the ceiling.
Yeah, well, I didn't know what was going on there.
I believe that's folks
They're
who
in
are
the
process of being turned into.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think that was more scary.
But like in terms of the enemies, it's just people who glow orange, basically.
Correct. It's not scary at all.
You just hear random like the same scream over and over again. Okay. Big issue I had that I'm not sure if you agree with this.
Sure.
The team, I looked this up, the team deliberately did not use quest markers, nav markers, anything like that, with the goal of further immersing you in the environment. The problem I have with this is that the FBC building uses this like Soviet brutalist architecture. By design, everything looks very drab, indistinguishable, so it's much harder for you to get your bearings based on anything that, like, yes, the building, I thought about this further, the building also frequently seems to rearrange itself like Hogwarts.
Yes.
And in general, it feels like it's kind of a liminal space. Like, they say that the building is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. So it's like, what were they thinking? Like, this is not like a concrete space. Well, it is a concrete space, but it's not like, it doesn't feel like a physical space that I'm going to get to know, you know what I mean?
I think a couple of problems with this are they already went in on enemy levels. You might as well have the quest markers.
Yeah.
But I think...
Or nothing.
Or nothing. Well, I think another part of this too, there's no mini-map on the screen unless you open it.
Yeah.
I think what's helpful is you can run around with the map, open, so it shows your arrow move.
Yeah.
But it also, because there isn't a mini-map all the time, I'm always opening the map, and as you said, nothing is really distinguishable. Maybe the executive wing is, but nothing else really is.
It's also like the map is gigantic, so you have to have it in. It's like Batman vision, basically.
Correct.
You have to have it open if you want to like engage.
And the map is also very vertical.
It is.
Yeah, it's just it can be confusing to get around unless you always have your map open.
That was my feeling.
Yeah.
I think just the vast majority of the setting, like the oldest house, is just a lot of gray concrete or dimly lit offices, and I just thought it was like a really unpleasant setting to spend 15 hours in.
Do you know what I said to you in a group chat? I don't know if you remember this. This game at times to me feels like a boring or bad version of Fear, like First Encounter Assault Recon.
Yeah.
You're in an office building like the whole game.
Yeah.
But in this game, it could be that the lights are on the whole time, why it's also so boring.
Yeah.
That's possible too.
I think with Fear too is that the combat of the game was awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like, that was our kind of, I think, fatal flaw with Fear, but everything else was great. So whereas the setting is just one of many problems that this game has, in my opinion. I think I like the environmental destruction effects, like the bullets shatter glass, or when you dash, there's this nice effect where the nearby concrete or the wood paneling will break off the walls. Paper and envelopes will rustle off people's desks. All that stuff was great.
Can I actually tell you what I don't like about it?
Yeah, sure.
There is a weird visual bug or error where, let's say you shatter some glass and but then you reload a checkpoint. When you go back to that glass, it's still shattered, but the window is repaired. So it's both. That happens weird. A lot. Where like it almost like the destruction remnants are on top of the repaired wall. Yeah, it's really there's some problems.
I think that's a weird thing, and also I felt while we're still kind of on the subject, the checkpoints were really weird.
I never knew whether it was going to send me back to a bonfire or load me somewhere else.
Yeah,
I get it.
I think they added some maybe in a patch,
maybe
just to make it less punishing, but it just still didn't feel right.
I mean, let me ask you. I mean, I only died like once or twice.
In this game,
yeah,
I died a couple times.
Okay,
usually to just like a boss or whatever. I want to say I feel like the facial animations are actually worse than Quantum Break.
Okay.
At one point, Jessie, the protagonist, her internal monologue is she's expressing excitement and anticipation that she's reuniting with her brother after all these years, but the facial expression is just completely deadpan.
Yep.
It's like what am I supposed to feel here? You know what I mean? Like I don't think the facial animation was good in this game.
No, but also it ties into what we're about to talk about in a minute, which is voice acting, like all that kind of character motivations, how things are performed. There's a lot of problems.
Yeah, like because I thought that the faces are photorealistic, but the way that they moved just did not feel appropriate.
No.
You know what I mean? Last visual note too, I felt like the health pickups could have stood out better.
They're just tiny blue little pieces.
Little nodes.
It was fine. I kind of like the little sound effect when you pick them up, a little crack happens. There's a little crinkle.
Yeah.
That was cute, but
yeah.
I don't know. Should we... All right, do you want to talk about voice acting and sound design and stuff? I have a lot of problems with this.
Okay.
Like, do you want to start and then I'll just kind of riff on this?
Yeah, just jump in whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
I think the sound design is hit or miss.
Yeah.
I like the way that the board speaks to you. It's like this entity.
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of weird. Like some of the lines are not audible. I don't really like the way the guns sound, but I think it does sound great when the environments are collapsing. You hear a lot of concrete exploding, glass shattering and shit. Some of the strange atmospheric noises are kind of interesting. We got to get into voice acting here. Courtney Hope, who previously played Beth in Quantum Break, protagonist Jessie Faden, I think she is really like the crumbling column at the center of the story here.
Yes.
Like she is giving this really emotive, heightened performance and doing her best to sell this story that the rest of the experience is not lifting a finger for. You know what I mean?
I don't disagree with you, but I also feel like Remedy... people will find out as they listen to our show. I just have a lot of issues with Remedy games when it comes to how a character expresses themselves in the environment they're in.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And this happens a lot in Quantum Break where, that too, but but also Control, where I feel like I don't want to accuse people of anything. Yeah. I just don't feel like any of the voice actors acted the lines together in a room.
No.
I don't think it was.
That is common, but what I think is I'm just going to jump ahead super quick in terms of voice direction.
Sure.
I think is maybe the issue here. You meet your comrade Emily Pope right at the beginning, and she's very chipper.
Yes.
She's, director, so nice to meet you, etc. And it's like, things seem pretty dire around here.
That was an issue I had with a lot of characters where like they're also chipper and happy to see you as if work is going normally. Like they're just working their 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But like everyone's fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like they're dead bodies.
The director
and
just killed himself.
Yeah, dude. And like there's like visceral blood and gore all over the floors.
Why are you happy?
I don't get this. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to say I'm open to the idea of, this is a weird game. I'm open to the idea of experimenting with tone and seeing people respond to stress differently. But for me, it felt like it trivialized the threat of what was going on.
Me too. But also, I was waiting for the moment when perhaps everybody was in on it. Or perhaps they're being chipper because they're trying to hide it from you. Yeah. But no, it just comes across as wrong. Yeah. Or it comes across as misdirected. Yeah, I think so. You meet so many characters who act like that.
Yeah.
Like I won't, we'll get into it, but you interact with like a scientist in some like some part of the facility where they're keeping like very, very, very dangerous people and things. And he's like, oh, how's it going?
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I doing? Like,
how are you doing?
Yeah, what's going on, dude? It's very odd.
It's funny because I was thinking about like N64 Zelda and how well they can communicate tone without any voice
because
acting.
You have to read it.
Right.
Yeah.
But even just like the animations and like how people their body language and stuff.
Yeah.
And this, it's just like it doesn't feel deliberate.
No.
At all. Last voice note I had, I don't really care for the narration in these games. I know it's probably coming from he has background as a writer. I think it was even more detrimental to this one than Quantum Break. I think so much of it is just sort of like cheap reinforcement, like. It feels like they think the audience is stupid or they don't trust the audience to feel or understand the situation for themselves.
Now, are you talking when Jessie says where they're going to go or why? Is that
like
what you
in her head?
Yeah,
like
the
it
inner
zooms in on
monologue.
her eyes.
Yes.
Or she's talking to the Polaris or whatever.
Yeah.
Even during like humorous moments, her internal monologue like explains the joke, no matter how obvious it is. And it's just like, it just did not work for me at all.
And I may have brought this up on a previous show, I'm not sure, but did it also bother you how all the characters pronounce Polaris differently? Did you realize that?
I don't think I noticed that.
Where I may have brought this up on a previous episode where in real life, people are going to mispronounce things because it's all new to them. But in this game, it feels inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like Polaris. I'm like, which one? Which one are we going for?
Yeah.
It bothered me.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. But I thought it was Polaris. I don't know.
Yeah. Do we want to go right into story? You have anything else?
No, let's rip off the Band-Aid here.
All right. So I think Riley, I don't want to spoil anything for you and I personally or for the audience, but in terms of our emotions, I'm pretty positive that you and I have a lot of problems with this. I would say that's pretty accurate. What do you think?
Yes, sir.
So, all right, here we go. So for we'll go right into the story here. For the audience's sake, the protagonist of Control is Jesse Faden, who is chosen by the board, an extra-dimensional entity that looks like a giant upside-down triangle, as the director of the FBC to replace the deceased director Trench, and they just kind of insert you.
It's also like something else that I even think about is that you don't really get a sense at all of what Jessie has been doing her whole life.
No, you don't at all.
What does she do for work? Or
it's another one of these things, though. But keep in mind, like Deadly Premonition kind of did that, where you don't really know what's going on with Francis York Morgan until he reveals it at the end.
Yeah.
But here, you don't understand why she's pursuing this. Why is she in this building? What has she been doing?
Yeah.
She's clearly so capable with guns and weapons and has superpowers. So what's going on here? Is she a bartender?
But I need to state, like,
sure,
for the record. So you discover this eventually 17 years before the game starts. Jessie and her younger brother Dylan discovered this like haunted slide projector in their hometown of Ordinary, Maine. This unleashed some type of malevolent forces from another dimension and caused the town's adult population to vanish. Jessie was rescued by a completely different entity called Polaris, while Dylan and the slide projector were taken into FBC custody. This is revealed to you, I think, about 3 chapters into the game when Jessie first meets Emily Pope, who is a researcher there. This is something that I feel like would have been helpful to know at the beginning to establish the character's motivation and what's at stake. Because they don't give you a whole lot when you're walking in the doors.
Correct. Like, I think I have a lot of issues with Remedy and that term character motivation.
Yeah.
And I just think they bungle this so quickly. I think the first 30 minutes of this game really bungle this.
Yeah.
Where you walk into the building, you don't know what's going on. You don't have the character history. Like, you run into characters who are really chipper, even though there's a bunch of blood and guts everywhere.
Yeah.
And the motivations feel wrong. The mood feels wrong. You don't understand why. You think it should be very serious, but it doesn't feel right.
It's really like, I can't overstate how much they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory here.
Correct.
Where you, I think it's really cool that it's like, oh, this woman is showing up at this government building in the middle of the night. It's kind of suspenseful. I don't really know what's going. Something supernatural might be going on. But almost immediately, it's just like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And so other characters we'll be mentioning are the missing head of research. His name is Casper Darling.
Yeah.
He appears in a lot of FMV sequences, and I believe he's portrayed by Alan Wake.
Yes, the voice actor for Alan Wake.
And this guy, Ati, another entity who has taken the form of a mysterious janitor who is Finnish.
Yes. Which Sam Lake is Finnish, so that's
makes sense.
That's the connection there.
More of this Remedyverse shit.
Yeah.
Which sucks, by the way. Keep going.
So I want to address right off the bat. As soon as the janitor first appeared, I was like, okay, I see what you're going for here, but I don't think you have the storytelling chops to pull it off.
No.
Like mysterious guy who is probably not human, being very cryptic with how he speaks and everything. Another thing that happens very early on, so you walk into the director's office. He seems to have shot himself. Jesse picks up the service weapon, and she's attacked by FBC agents who have been corrupted by something that she names the Hiss.
Yep.
During this encounter, or like right afterwards, an FBC memo appears in your inventory and your collectibles that also calls them the Hiss.
Yep.
So this is before you meet the rest of the staff.
Yep.
How did they know that they're called the Hiss?
Dude, it's a lot of, what would you call it? Continuity errors.
Did she telepathically think it to them? Like what?
Dude, I think this game is trying to ride on that. Where like, no, people know things and they know it through other means that
Magic
are not natural.
bullshit,
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
dude.
like.
Sorry, science fiction bullshit in this game.
Yeah. No, I thought that it was just like a lot of stuff in these games is just feels kind of thoughtless. And I'm like, am I an asshole for thinking about it? Should I not be thinking about it?
Do you know what I think they should have done? I feel like you should have found your way into this government building and you don't meet anyone for a while.
Right.
It's kind of scary. You're encountering some monsters and stuff and you slowly run into
Maybe
people.
You got one guy on the radio or something.
Yeah, but they just don't do that.
Even once you meet the staff, I feel like my emotional stake and clarity of purpose was very limited.
Yeah.
A kind of a Goofus and Gallant comparison I have here would be Dead Space.
Yeah.
Where you always know what your current objective is and how it's going to help you fix or get off the ship.
Yes.
Like that, I feel like should have been kind of the guiding Polaris here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I just didn't know like where am I going? Why?
Right.
What is my goal
right.
here? It is revealed to you that Jesse's brother Dylan was the original choice to replace Trench, but he went berserk and killed some people, so they locked him away in a separate wing. So the mission where you go looking for him results in you finding out that he just walked into headquarters and you went all that way for nothing.
Wasn't that hilarious?
And it wasn't like a dun 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 thing either. It was just very, hey, he actually just walked in the door.
Dude, okay, so let's lay this all down here. Like the beginning, it is not made clear why you're there, which in theory is fine. Then Jesse says internally, I'm not going to reveal to them why I'm here yet.
Right.
And then you do, and then you essentially accuse them of kidnapping Dylan. And they're like, yeah, we did it. And then, he's in this...
all is forgiven instantly.
He's essentially in this psych ward. And then, it's like this maximum security, like it's hard to get in there. And then when you go to find him, oh, sorry, no, he's actually in the main area where you started. He just walked in.
It doesn't like,
okay.
No one is in peril. No one is
like, but I don't understand. Essentially, they just did not attempt a rug pull and it just looks bad, right? They didn't attempt like deceit of any kind.
It was just literally like a snap decision. Like, oh, like next cutscene, he's back at headquarters. We have him locked up. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
He's in a glass case. Similar to how I felt here, your next task is to find the haunted slide projector.
Yes.
So to do this, you have to find Ati, the janitor, the creepy guy.
Yep.
So he can give you his headphones, and the headphones let you navigate this maze. There's a maze in one part of the building. But once you make your way through the maze, you discover that the slide projector has been moved somewhere else. So like it's okay to occasionally do this in games, but twice in a row, it makes your actions start to feel
meaningless.
pointless.
Yeah, it's like they're padding the game out, or they didn't know how to deceive you. Right.
And like I just spent all that time doing what?
Also, you know the song you listen to is the band from Alan Wake, right?
Oh yeah,
dude, come on.
It's basically like kind of a Lost Woods riff.
Dude, at some point, please let me talk about the Remedy verse, okay? Please.
We'll have plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Like, okay, so can I take the next one?
Yeah.
So Trench and Darling used the slide projector to enter an alternate dimension where they discovered Polaris. The hiss destroy Polaris and invade Jessie's mind, but she is able to reconnect with Polaris in her mind. She learns that Trench was the first person to be possessed by the hiss and let them into the oldest house.
Yep. How'd you feel when this happened?
Nothing.
I think I felt just confused.
I felt absolutely nothing.
This part with Dylan I want to get into. I think this character sucks. All he does is float 4 inches off the ground in a glass case and spout nonsense at you.
Do you know what's so funny? When he keeps shouting orange peel at you. Did you remember that?
Oh,
I laughed. I thought it was funny.
That sounds funny. But like my problem with the character is we don't have any connection to who he was before he was like turned evil. So we're kind of disconnected from how Jessie feels when she sees him like this.
Well, we also should say that like Jessie and Dylan have these supernatural powers, right? But like, I guess Dylan was kidnapped so he could be a director and Jessie wasn't, but they kind of hint at that Jessie running around in real life was a test. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
But they don't put their foot fully in the pool on this plot topic. They just kind of hint at it.
No.
They don't commit to it.
No, I didn't like the way this turned out at all. I think the end of the game is a train wreck.
Yeah.
You enter another like kind of interchangeable otherworld sequence with these pillars that are rising up out of the ground. You fight a bunch of enemy mobs and you do the cleansing thing on Dylan's head.
Yes.
And isn't this where the office illusion happens?
It's close. Where what happens is after you cleanse Dylan, it immediately just time skips and it says, he's in a coma.
That's where
and then
this
credits
happened.
roll.
Yes. Okay.
Quote unquote credits.
He's in a coma and the credits roll, but they start like warping.
They start doing a Metal Gear Solid 2 thing where it's like, it's not actually over.
Actually, like, yeah.
So do you want to talk about this? But I can start if you want.
You should start about the office thing.
Sure. I actually think this is one of the only interesting things that happens in this game, but it's just completely unearned and ends up being meaningless.
Yeah.
Where you think you've beaten the game, where there's no final boss, there's really no final awesome emotional moment. Dylan's just in a coma.
Yeah.
And then what happens is the credits start to look fucked up, and then you appear in this office. It's the FBC.
Yeah.
And Jessie is like an intern, and you have to like organize coffee cups and deliver mail.
I just thought about playing as Nick.
Yes. And you're essentially trying to break out of this intern sequence.
Yeah.
Because I guess the hiss is trying to get into your brain or something.
Yeah.
And you eventually break out of it, but then that's the last thing you do, and then the game actually ends.
Yes.
And
and then she there's a cutscene where she says, "I am the director."
I screenshotted that.
That's it.
I don't. It's interesting, but I'm kind of speechless because there's no emotional moment that would make this interesting. It's just, okay, I guess the credits rolled and they didn't, and then they made me do a weird thing.
It's very much just kind of like a child imitating like an adult, where other games have done this. The problem with it is that the central experience of control is so trippy and weird that this is just another trippy and weird thing. Like you don't really blink twice at it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's like how it ends. Like it's not like conclusive.
Before like we get into side content, can I try to wrap my brain around the summation here?
Yeah.
Where like Jessie, you show up to an office building, everything's bloody and terrible. The director kills himself. You become the director just because the game tells you are.
Yeah.
All the characters you meet immediately accept that.
Yeah.
You don't reveal to them that they kidnapped Dylan, but then you do. But then you're okay with it. And then there's no conflict at all. They keep saying to you, oh, we got to fix this thing and then we'll talk about Dylan. So your character doesn't really show any anger that they kidnap Dylan.
Yeah.
And then you realize that Dylan is kind of the super powered like humanoid thing, but nothing happens. I don't think you ever fight him either, right?
No, you don't fight Dylan. No.
You don't fight Dylan. And then you have to go find a slide projector because that's what blew up your town.
Yeah.
And then you do, and then it ends.
And she says, I'm the director.
And that's it, right? Have we missed anything? Like, I'm trying to give this game at least a fair shake here. Is that what happens in this?
That was my understanding of it.
And, okay, do you want to talk about a little bit of side content, I guess?
Yeah, because there is a fair amount.
Sure.
I want to ask you, do you think it was wise to reveal that there are giant monsters pulling the strings during a side quest?
Is it okay to say I don't care? Like...
Monsters, no monsters.
I actually think the 3 or 4 monster encounters are just some of the more interesting combat sequences. Like the one with the anchor's interesting. The one with the giant eye, the fridge. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Did you help the guy with the fridge?
I did.
And like, I actually think they're kind of fun, but the whole game is so dumb.
Okay, so the giant monster, I'm talking about the ones with the big eye.
Yeah.
That just felt like, why are we not talking about this?
Well, I also, and that's another problem with this game where Jessie encounters such crazy, abnormal, scary stuff, but never brings it up.
Yeah.
Example, does she ever tell anyone that she talked to a janitor who's really weird?
I think so.
Does she ever tell people about Ati?
Yeah, but they don't seem to think there's anything up with him.
Yeah. Okay.
They're like, oh, he's a little quirky. But I hated that Pac-Man anchor boss fight.
Yeah,
that
me
was
too.
So annoying.
Yes.
I wanted to also bring up the supplemental documents and flavor text.
Sure.
They all feel just very perfunctory and not worth reading, not worth including.
Yeah.
Not worth spending development time writing if it's not going to tell you anything significant. You know what I mean? One thing I wanted to mention, I have a couple examples of how this could have been improved slightly. One of the haunted items is a fridge that you have to keep looking at or you die, right? One of the other items in a very close area is a TV. Why not maybe combine these ideas into a TV that you can't stop watching, and you maybe have an idea of something kind of meaningful?
Do you know what's so funny? Because what do you do with a TV? You watch it.
Right.
And they didn't think about that.
That's my point. And it's because remember the Little Nightmares with the TVs?
Yes.
That everybody turns into like a whole face?
Yes.
It's not like the highest level idea in the world, but it would be better than having no meaning.
Yeah.
At all.
And I also feel like I feel like there are like 3 or 4 kind of interesting quests that are just seem to be in random places that are more interesting than the actual game. Yeah. And it happens so infrequently that I'm just annoyed. Yeah. Does that make sense? Because I'm not committed to the world either.
No, yeah, I'm so unplugged that it didn't leave a mark. Another example I had, there's another one of the haunted items is a stack of letters that can travel really fast, so they can go back and forth between people very fast, I guess. And they're covered in little hearts and love notes. Okay. And I was like, kind of a missed opportunity to just have a little story there, you know, and like, who is it between? Like, is it 2 characters we know, etc.?
It's Alan Wake.
It's Alan Wake. He's behind it all. Did you do the mirror side quest?
No.
So I did that one, and I think it's kind of neat where the object is that you have to find this mirror, and she kind of goes into it, and the entire world is reversed for a second, and so all the text is reversed. And basically you have to fight like Dark Link, essentially. Okay. Yeah. Like it just reversed Jessie. Yeah. But I think it still felt like wasted potential.
Why aren't these in the main game? The things you do in the main game are so boring.
Yeah. But it's really just like it's I don't know, 5-10 minutes max. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because Jessie is such like a nothing character that confronting opposite Jessie just doesn't feel significant.
Yeah, I get it. Like, yep.
And there is a side quest. I didn't realize it's DLC where it's revealed that this is all Alan Wake's fault.
Come on. Did he write it in a book or something?
Yeah. It was part of it. Yeah.
Dude, Sam Lake's a nice guy, okay? Like Like Kyle Rowley's a nice guy.
Alan Wake's a nice guy.
I've met him. Like, dude, but what can I say here? Like,
I feel
stop
like
connecting these.
I feel like the Alan Wake thing is they lean on it a fair amount in these games. Like there's in Quantum Break, there's the commercials or videos or whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like I like Alan Wake as a guy.
Yeah.
And I thought the first game was good.
Yeah.
But in terms of like how much like you're
the Remedyverse
putting on the table here, like Alan Wake might make an appearance,
dude.
Like a little wink.
Dude, wait. Actually, can we actually talk about? We actually missed one thing.
What?
Do you remember the motel sequences?
Yes.
Where you have to like solve little puzzles.
Yeah.
What was up with that?
That I felt was just like a holding pattern of some sort. Like it was like a way to travel from one place to another, right? Like a shortcut through.
Is that what that is?
Through dimensions or something?
I thought those were kind of interesting in terms of puzzle solving.
Yeah, because it broke up like the terrible
stupidness.
Experience.
Yeah, the Destiny Borderlands game.
Yeah, if it was more of that, it kind of the aesthetic reminded me a little bit of Deadly Premonition.
Yeah.
And just a little bit more thought and thinking. Like, I don't know. What did you like the puzzles? We didn't really talk about that. Like,
I kind of liked how in those hotel sequences, in one of them you have to recreate a room by going into another one and seeing what's reversed,
yes,
or what's upside down.
Yeah, like the painting is askew or something.
You know what I can't overanalyze this game too much. I just think, besides I think it all being wrong, I feel like I wish it was a little bit more puzzly and interesting rather than shooty blasty. I think
that's definitely the emphasis to its detriment. Yeah.
Do you want to get into conclusions?
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
I have a couple points here.
Yeah.
I wanted to try and figure out why we are so out of alignment with the consensus on this game.
Wait, can we make a point here?
Yeah.
The consensus on this game is an 85 across the board, Metacritic, all consoles.
Yes.
So go ahead.
So I did some digging. Some positive reviews highlighted the game's atmosphere, lore, art style, air quotes, obsessive attention to detail, setting, puzzles, combat, destructible environments, storytelling, and air quotes, phenomenal characters. So how many of those do you agree with?
I was about to say, can I go through them real quick?
Yeah.
Positive reviews highlighted the game's atmosphere, toast, like lore, toast, art style, toast, obsessive attention to detail, clearly not because of the voice acting convictions, done. Setting, it's kind of interesting. Puzzles were interesting. The combat is fine. Destruction was fine. The storytelling, the pits, right? And then the phenomenal characters. I mean, can I say again, Sam Lake's, he's nice. Like,
he's a nice guy.
I've met some people on this team. They're nice people. These, I would say the characters and motivations and vibe are probably some of the worst, right?
That I've seen.
I think so.
So some of the mild criticism it received was for Jesse's characterization, odd dialogue, vague main quest structure, insubstantial side quests, confusing map design, checkpoint placement, and boss fights. But those were very, very in the minority.
Wow. Okay. Well, I just feel like I have a mixed opinion on all of that stuff with this game. And it's hard for me to put my finger on. I actually said this to you in a chat. I said something like, what I hate the most about Control is that to some extent I kind of like it or kind of like what they're trying to do, but so much of it is mishandled.
Yeah.
Or like it doesn't make me feel anything, which makes me hate it.
Yeah.
Sorry, season 1 Greg. Like hate it. Does that make sense?
I
guess. Like
I want to say also that in 2019 all these outlets, IGN, Game Informer, EGM, and Games Radar named Control their game of the year.
Oh, dude, I feel like that's almost like some Greg and Riley, like goddamn GameCube Batman origin story, like Batman villain, like why did we start this show?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I don't understand how.
I don't either.
What Resident Evil 2 remake was that year.
Was it really?
Yep.
Wow.
I don't know. That's
I don't know, man.
I don't think I'll ever understand. So ultimately, I really did not enjoy this experience. But like the few positives that I'll say here is that it did feel like a genuine attempt at artistic expression. Like, it was not cynical.
Sure.
And it is for better or worse in the AA game category that we covet so dearly.
I believe this is considered a AAA title.
Really?
Remedy Games is considered a AAA studio. Believe it or not.
It doesn't feel like it.
No. Or does it because we hated it?
I don't know. No, but I mean, like, in terms of that character motion, that walking around, that feels very much not like
AAA
Assassin's
budget.
Creed feels like you're
in the boots of this guy.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Remedy and 505 Games confirmed Control 2 is in development with a huge budget.
Yeah.
Which I can't wait. And what sucks about us doing this episode is we now have to cover it.
I don't know.
They also are working on a smaller 4-player co-op spin-off game. So that's even, I would say I'm interested in that even less.
Yeah.
Okay, man. So is this the point where we talk about grades? Is this what we're doing?
It is.
So, here's what, do you want to go first or should I do it?
You should go first.
Here's what's going to happen. I think I'm going to give you a brief couple of sentences of summation, then I'm going to give the grade.
Mm-hmm.
I've unfortunately now beaten this game twice. On my second playthrough, I appreciated the gameplay a little bit more, and I hated the story and characters even more than I did the first time.
Yeah.
So for me, we're going low here. I'm just trying to debate how low.
Mm-hmm.
I think in my Greg heart, I want to say C-, and I'm just curious if you're going to go even lower. I'm going to caution you about what we've given a D and an F to, which is, Warrior Within, Deadly Premonition 2, like Horizon Forbidden West, which is fucking hilarious. I'm very curious. I also want to say, I feel very vindicated and very validated that you also dislike this, because I felt like I was screaming into the void about this game, about how much I hated it.
Oh, scream no longer.
Go ahead.
I will say that I just feel like I am baffled, utterly baffled by the praise that this game received, and I'm not sure if that's just because of how brutal the last decade was for games, that everyone was like, "Oh, this game is actually finished," like that. Yay.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I can't ignore what I feel and what I see, and just the entire experience is just, it felt so disjointed to me.
Yeah, sure.
And so, I am going to give it a D.
Wow.
Because it, you know what? I'm gonna have a little bit of extra spite, a little venom in my sword here, because it's just, I have to call out failure where I see it.
Sure.
I have to. It was not just boring. I consider C- the boring grade.
Sure.
This frequently felt like it was actively antagonizing me.
Really?
And I never want to touch it again.
That's funny.
And
dude.
that's it. It's a D because, like I said, there are a couple things that are objectively great. Like the destructible environments, it is coming from a place of wanting to create, but I just did not think it was thought through at all.
No. Okay. I think I am going to stay with C-, but are you giving it a D? I'm okay with. I think that's going to do it for now, and we will catch you guys next time on Goddamn GameCube. Thank you.